All right, we are ready to get going. So, welcome to our monthly boot camp. We've been doing this boot camp now for, I don't know, 5 years maybe, first Friday of every month from 9 a.m. to noon. And first, I would like to tell everybody that this program is designed that even if you're not a LAER agent, you're going to get a ton of resources out of today's program. You're going to get all kinds of listing presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages, access to training, all kinds of free resources, and that's for anybody. So if you're logging on and you see that it is put on by LAER, I don't want you to back out and say, oh, this isn't for me. It's 100% for you. And by the way, it is not a recruiting program. We're here to provide real value, real tools to help you grow your real estate business. So the program is jam-packed. I always say we'll try to leave a little bit early, but typically we don't. We take it right up to noon because there's so much content, so much good information for you guys to learn. And let's just dig in. So let's see. I'm going to get out of this for a minute. So we're going to start today's program by taking a look at the LAER program and services guide, only because that's going to kind of get us on our way for evaluating a lot of the free tools that we're going to offer today. We're going to spend time focusing from the beginning of the day. We spend really focusing on marketing and branding, mostly because that's what real estate agents typically want the most help with, is coming up with great materials so that they can shine when they go on a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, or when they're posting to social media or advertising. So we're going to cover all of that. We're then going to move into some cool technology tools. We're also going to cover best places to get some training and systems for growing your business. And then at the end, we'll talk just for a few minutes about administrative support. One of the pieces that I always share at the beginning of our program is, and this is at the beginning of every training program that we do, is while we're getting set up this morning, make sure that you have a pen and paper handy to take some notes. It is going to be a fire hose of information. And one of the things that we worry about with so much information, this program is so content heavy that we don't want you to get paralyzed in that there's so much to do, so much that you could execute on that you end up not doing anything. Since you are investing this time in your business, we hope that you take a few pieces from it and go execute on it. As we always say at the beginning of our programs, knowledge is not power, execution is power. Knowledge is just potential. So we want to turn everything, or at least some of what you take away from today's program, into value for your business. We want to turn it into dollars and cents so that you can truly grow your real estate business with it. And we're going to give you so many tools that you can take with you. And again, the tools that we share today, even if you're at another brokerage, you'll still have access to everything that we speak of today. There's a couple of areas that we'll share, which are really just for our LAER agents, such as our marketing, our done-for-you marketing on new listings, stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff we're going to share, like the listing presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages, most of that you will be able to take for yourself and adapt to your own business regardless of the brokerage that you're working for. All right, let's take a look at the LAER program and services guide, because this is going to launch us for the next hour or so into a lot of marketing pieces that you can evaluate for your business, or I should say branding, marketing and branding pieces. Very brief history of LAER. We are an independent real estate brokerage, and I'm always proud to say we're kind of a little independent real estate brokerage that does a lot of business. We started 11 years ago, and where we got our name from, LAER, is when starting the brokerage, our goal was to help all agents become the best version of themselves. By providing tools, training, technology. We want to attract great real estate agents and build great real estate agents. So, what makes a great real estate agent? Well, in my opinion, the best agents are strong. They are negotiators of difficult terrain, just meaning that if you look at the qualities of the highest performing real estate agents, typically they're really good at overcoming obstacles, because really that is what our business is. We are overcoming obstacles. Every transaction is like this bag of obstacles that you have to get through to get to the end. So the best agents are just really good at overcoming obstacles. Also, the best agents are true protectors of their clients. In other words, they don't focus on a paycheck. They focus on how can I best serve the people that I am working with, the buyers, sellers, renters, landlords. How can I best serve them? And so when we put all those words into a Google search 11 years ago, strong, protector, negotiator, the first thing that came up in our search was a lion. So I said, that's it. We're going to build our brand around the lions of real estate. In the jungle, lions stay together in layers. In the real estate world, the lions of real estate are at LAER. I tell people, oh, by the way, we changed the spelling of LAER from the traditional spelling because ours is the mirror image of real, since we're in the real estate business. We then created the acronym Local Agents Extraordinary Results. So I tell people sometimes you see a lion statue in front of a home. That is because the lion is a symbol of protection for the home. We look at it that there's a new symbol of protection for real estate across New England and Florida, and it is the LAER for sale sign. So we're about 11 years old, and even though we're small, we do a lot of business. We're consistently ranked as one of the largest brokerages in the country just based on the amount of business our tiny little team does. By the way, you can download our program guide at laerrealty.com/success tools. If you have a printer, not a bad idea to just print it out so that you can take notes. One of the cool things about this program guide is we wanted it to be interactive. So I'm going to share a lot of links throughout the program, and you'll be able to either write down the links on your to-do list on the things that you're going to go execute on, or you can bookmark them as we go throughout the program. As well, if you have the program guide in a PDF format, which you can get at laerrealty.com/success tools, if you have that, a lot of the links that we're going to talk about are embedded throughout this booklet. So as you're going through the guide, anytime you see something underlined, that is a link to more information so you can continue to go explore whatever the tool is or the training is that we're referencing. So the first few pages of the guide just lay out our company values. We have 30 core values. And from there, it talks about the fact that we are independent and what it means to us to be an independent real estate brokerage. I feel like there aren't many of us left, especially the size that we are. And what makes me really proud is even though we are fairly small and fairly independent, we're competing with the largest brands in the industry, and we're consistently ranked by Real Trends and the Riz Media Power Broker Report. All right, now for the fun stuff, the stuff that you came for. How are you going to build your business? What are all the tools that you could incorporate so that you can grow a successful career in real estate? Now, this booklet is divided into 4 sections. The first section is marketing and branding. That's why we're going to spend at least the next hour working on marketing and branding. This is where I'm going to give you a lot of free tools that you can incorporate into your business. And after the marketing and branding, so each section of the guide will have a big bar across it explaining what area you're moving into through the guide. Again, it's laerrealty.com/success tools. If you scroll to the bottom of that page, there's a PDF version of this guide that you're looking at. From marketing and branding, the next section of the guide is technology tools. The next section after that is education, training, and coaching. And then the last section is some of the administrative support we provide for our agents. Okay, so we're going to dive into LAERagentservices.com. On this page, we're going to spend the next hour at least sharing some really cool tools for your business. Let me see if I can make this just a little bigger for you guys to see. Okay, there we go. Okay, first thing that you'll notice, as I said, this class is open to all agents of all firms. While I see we have a nice mix here, we have several LAER agents attending us today, but also we have agents from other brokerages. And the first thing you will notice when you go to LAERagentservices.com is that there is no password. So we've made this so you can access all of the materials that our LAER agents can access. So we're not putting on a class where we're going to tell you about all the great things that are offered and then you can't access them. We're going to tell you about all the great things and you can go access them regardless of what brokerage you are with. Okay, so let's take a little tour of our LAERagentservices.com. As I mentioned, it is not password protected. And as you scroll down, you'll see all kinds of little houses. And these are buttons. We design them as houses because if there's one thing we know about real estate professionals is that they love exploring real estate. So as you have time, we're going to give you a baseline coverage of everything that's here so that you can, when you come back, you know where to go and find it. But we've made it, we just try to organize everything you would need here in one simple place so that when you come back, you can go explore each house and see what is in store for you there. All right, right at the beginning of the agent services dashboard, you'll see just a table of contents. Few things that I want to note here. Number one, if you are a LAER agent, right at the very top, there's a link to our Happy Agent host schedule. At LAER, the administrators at our front desks at our offices, we call them hosts. In the old days, we called them administrators because they were doing a lot of paperwork. But now agents do all the paperwork because you're using systems like .loop or Transaction Desk or app files. So the agent is doing all the paperwork. So instead, that job is transitioned for our staff. We call them hosts because that's what they do, is they host people coming into the office, kind of like a restaurant host. They make sure the office is organized, that there's supplies there, and our hosts host a luncheon every month, our birthday luncheon at each of the offices, etc. Now, why does this Happy Agent host schedule matter? Well, if you're a LAER agent, sometimes you're having materials dropped off at an office Maybe it's a check being dropped off at an office, and you just need to know if somebody's going to be there and what time there's going to be a host in the office. So if you click on this Happy Agent host schedule, you can see a whole month's worth of staff scheduling, so that you'll know if somebody's going to be in the office on a particular date. So if you have somebody dropping by to drop something off, if you are having somebody like FedEx, a check, or drop something, always make sure that there's going to be a staff member at the particular office that you're sending it to, especially during the summer, because we have vacations and stuff like that. And it just gets frustrating if you're trying to chase down a check and it got FedEx to an office where a staff member was on vacation. You can eliminate all that by just checking the host schedule. Next, if you click on LAER News, this is our internal company newsletter. This comes out on a monthly basis. And it's just a 4-page newsletter. If you scroll down to the bottom, actually, if you click on it, you can actually change the pages and stuff. But also you can click down at the bottom and download a PDF version of this. As well, you can see all of our past issues. And our Happy Agent hosts also put a copy of this up at the front desk in all of our offices. So when we publish it monthly, they print it and leave a copy at the front desk. So when you stop by, you can find out, you can grab a copy of our newsletter. If you're a LAER agent, I always say check this out because it tells you what's happening in the company, which agents recently joined. We also make it fun. So we let you know what's happening in the lives of your fellow agents, who had a baby, who got married, who had a loss in their family. So you want to find out what's happening in the lives of your coworkers. This is where to do it. It's also where we announce new technologies for your business, exciting books to read, movies. We always have a sustainability segment to let you know some things that are happening on the sustainability front. And at the very back, you could see all the upcoming birthdays, things like that. Anyways, it's worth checking out our newsletter on a monthly basis just to find out what's happening within the brokerage. Most of these other pieces at the top, just scroll down to these other sections. So for example, we have the recently joined section. So very top of this screen is really dedicated to agents who just recently joined the brokerage. So first section is the program and services guide, that booklet that we just saw a moment ago. If you're new to LAER, we also have a frequently asked questions page where if you're a LAER agent, you know that if you email happyagent@laerrealty.com, that goes into our support line and gets assigned to a staff member who will answer your question quickly and knowledgeably. But every year we take the most frequently asked questions that come into the Happy Agent team and we put them at frequently asked questions here. So you can kind of scroll through it, but also you can type in something and look up like a policy or best practice or a frequently asked question. And then also we have some social media pieces for announcing if you recently joined the brokerage. And then we always have a section here to kind of introduce agents that recently joined the brokerage. So if you're a new LAER agent and you recently joined and you haven't seen your post here yet, it's probably because we're missing one of two things: a professional photo or your bio. So once you email your professional bio and your photo to this page, or to Happy Agent, you get introduced here to the rest of the brokerage. All right, now we're scrolling down to marketing, branding, and presentations. There's tons and tons of content here that we're going to want to cover over the next hour or so. The very first box here is the most clicked on button within LAER Agent Services, because this is where you get the branding pieces for your business. So let's take a look at what we have in here. I clicked on guides, presentations, brochures. So let's first talk about Canva. In case there's anybody on here who hasn't used Canva in the past, Canva is a marketing platform. So you can make really nice pieces for your business, from listing presentations, buyer presentations, social media pieces, etc. One thing that we've spent many years doing is creating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces for our agents. Now, in case you've never used Canva before, I should note that there are two versions of Canva. There's a free version and a paid version of Canva. Every real estate agent at a minimum should have the free version of Canva. With the free version, you can basically do 95% of the functionality of Canva. There's a couple things that you're missing if you're not using the paid version of Canva. Specifically, what you're missing if you are if you're on the free version is, number one, the paid Canva users have way more stock images. So stock images are like if you see over here, this real estate agent showing a house, that's a stock image. And typically we use all kinds of stock images in marketing pieces, like beautiful kitchens and beautiful front yards. If you have the paid version of Canva, you get something like 11 million stock images. By the way, with the free version of Canva, you also get like 1 million stock images. So for many, the free version is fine. You just have less stock images. Secondly, with the paid version of Canva, you can manage all of your social media posting right from within Canva. So you can schedule out posts from within your Canva account, which many agents like to do because they use Canva for creating the social media pieces. So since they're using it to create the piece, why not just share right from within the Canva account? The third piece, which is a recent change within Canva, is that if you have the paid version, you can create templates to share with people. That means that, let's say you have a team and you want to be able to create a marketing piece, let's just say a home buying guide that you want to create, and then you want to share the template with a team member so that they can now go in and customize that template. They can add their photo and their content onto that template. And under the new upgrade, recent changes with Canva, to create templates, you have to have a paid version of Canva. Now, at LAER, we create tons and tons of Canva pieces. So all of these pieces that you see here are Canva templates. That means that you can open these and they become yours as soon as you open them. So let's just say, for example, let's say I want this for sale by owner guide, for example. I'm going to open this. So if you open this for sale by owner guide and click view template, I'm going to open it in editor. Okay. I just opened it and now this is my version of the for sale by owner guide. So what does that mean? That means that you can go in and change whatever you want. And we're not going to see it on our version because this is your version now. This is no longer our version. Once you open the template, it's now yours to do what you wish with it. So you can open it, you can change, you can delete out pages, you can add pages, you can put your photo and bio. So like with the click of a button, if you're reaching out to for sale by owners, you have this 30-page or 29-page beautiful marketing piece. Always read through it to make sure that you agree with what has been written in the document. But other than that, so reading through it and then adding your picture and adding your bio, you're done. So in the old days, if you wanted a for sale by owner booklet, a 29-page booklet that you could drop off at a for sale by owner to show the value of hiring a real estate agent, it would probably take you a couple days to actually design it, to write the content for it, to make it look pretty, to get it print ready. Now it is literally a click of the button. We've already done all of the work. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that as you go through the guide, there are stock images. So, for example, this is a stock image, this dining room photo right here. And one thing I want to point out is that if you're using the free version of Canva, we at LAER are using the paid version of Canva. That means that we have 11 million stock images to access, just like this image right here. We have 11 million of those to choose from because we have the paid version of Canva. If you're using the free version of Canva, occasionally you are going to open one of our pieces and you're going to see a big Canva watermark across the document. And that is a signal to you that we used a Canva image that we have access to because it's the paid version. Does that mean that you can't use the document now? Absolutely not. It does mean that you have to change the picture out. And by the way, it's so easy. You just click over at elements and you can search for a different photo. So you could do dining room photos, and it's going to show you all the ones that you can have for free. So here's dining room photos, and I can see the paid ones, the ones that I have access to because I'm a paid member of Canva, has this little crown on it. But you'll see there's tons I could choose from that there's no crown. I can get those as a free member of Canva. So if you're using the free version, you have 100% access to all of our templates. The only piece is you're occasionally going to have to change out a photo because ours was with a paid version of Canva. And you'll know when that happens only because you'll see a big Canva watermark across an image. And that's just a signal to you that, hey, I got to change out this image before I can do anything with the document. In fact, Canva won't even let you download the PDF of this booklet to print it until you've changed out the image. So that's the extent of it. Even so, it really comes down to a preference for agents, whether you want to use the free version or the paid version of Canva. By the way, the paid version, I think, is $15 a month, and they discount it if you pay for a year up front. So let's see some of the other pieces that we have on here because there's quite a bit. We have the for sale by owner guide, the seller intake questionnaire. So we also wrote a trifold brochure on how the market affects property prices. This was a new addition for us only because the market has been changing in many of our markets, and it's important to be able to articulate to a seller why the house may not be worth what it was last year. If you did a CMA on a house 12 months ago, there's a good chance in many of our markets that the house is now worth less than it was 12 months ago, simply because of supply and demand. There's more supply in many of our markets now. Anyways, this is a trifold brochure on how the market affects property prices. We have a buyer intake form, a 20-point marketing plan. For those of you that go after or reach out to expired listings, we have this nice booklet, Why My Home Did Not Sell. You can open that in editor. My home didn't sell, now what? And this is for expireds. We have lots of agents that reach out to expired listings. So this is a book format. Our agents that use this typically like bind it and will hand deliver it or mail it to expired listings. So that's like a little 9-page booklet. Some of the other pieces, we have lots of listing presentations and buyer presentations to choose from within here. Let's see. You can actually do a search. Let me just see. Okay. Sergio, I don't see. So we've been updating this site because some of our agents wanted to have better search capability, but I don't see our
Yeah,
good list.
if you scroll up all the way up,
Yeah.
and then that main search bar, the
Type
one kind
listing.
of goes all the way across. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, is it on? No? Oh, there it is. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so here's our listing presentation. We have great buyer presentations as well. So if you type in listing at the top, you'll find a handful of different listing presentations. Same is true with buyer presentations. Here's what I want you to know. First of all, none of this content is like junk. So there are sites where you can go buy presentation content, and oftentimes it's very base level. In other words, they'll give you a format for a listing presentation, but there's no content in there. They leave it to you to create the content. We have created all the content. So we wrote all the copy. That being said, you have to review it to make sure that number one, you agree with it. And number two, if you're with another brokerage, that it meets your fiduciary requirements of the brokerage you're with. What I mean by that is you'll see within our listing and buyer presentations that we have New England versions and Florida versions. The reason for this is because in Florida, we practice transaction brokerage, which means there is a lower fiduciary duty than our agents have in New England, which means the verbiage is different in the listing presentations and buyer presentations for Florida and New England. Most of the content is exactly the same for the presentations, but there are slight variations because we don't want to overpromise our duties to a seller or buyer in Florida. So every agent should be cognizant of what your duties are and any representations you're making within any of your documents. That's why it's so important that while we've done all the heavy lifting of making sure these presentations are chock full of content for you so that you don't have to write your presentation from the very start, it is so important that you actually read through it and just make sure that you agree with it. It follows your brokerage policy. If you're a LAER agent, really you just have to choose between Florida or New England, and we already have it so that it matches the duties that we have to abide by within the states that we're doing business. But let me just open one so you can see the quality. Now, this is a listing presentation. So most of the agents who use this is kind of like PowerPoint format within Canva. By the way, you can download it as a Canva PowerPoint. Also, if you're familiar with Canva, you can turn this into any format you want. Canva is wonderful for, like, if you want to turn a presentation into a book or a book into a presentation, it will do all of the heavy lifting for you on that. But I like the presentation format. You show up at a listing presentation and you actually have a presentation to show them. And so the way I see this is you show up with your laptop or your tablet and you actually display it on your screen with the consumer sitting in front of you or next to you. Couple things on this that I wanted to kind of go over just so you can see the kind of stuff that is included in a really good listing presentation. So, number one, we're a realtor organization. So, we kind of lead with the fact that we are a realtor and why the seller should consider working with a realtor over just any real estate agent. It talks about pricing, contracts, and negotiation. It then goes into, on average, the amount of time that a good listing agent spends working on a property. So one of the challenges that many agents face is, like, we want to make sure we're articulating our value because we're going to be asking for a fair commission at the end of our presentation. So we want to make sure that we're articulating all the things that go into getting the property sold. So there's a few pages of the average time spent on a typical non-distressed listing, and we like to remind the consumer that the attorney, the mechanic, the plumber, they charge per hour. Well, imagine if we charged per hour, it would probably add up to significantly more than we're taking as a percentage. So, some other things, what you have to think about when it comes to your listing presentation is, what are your value propositions? So, what is it that makes your brokerage different than other brokerages? What is it that makes you different from other real estate agents? And somehow you have to articulate that throughout your presentation. Now, one thing to think about for your business, your buyer presentation and your seller presentation, I talk about this a lot in our training classes, is that the best real estate agents have really good checklists. There's a wonderful book by Atul Gawande called The Checklist Manifesto. And the Checklist Manifesto is all about Atul Gawande, who is a surgeon, did a study on why do so many people die of infections at hospitals. And what his study found out is that simply there were a lot of doctors and nurses who forgot to wash their hands during regular intervals at the hospital, and that simple tiny little piece led to all kinds of really serious infections. So the whole book focuses on the importance of checklists in your business. And by the way, the more you work on a checklist, eventually the checklist becomes embedded in who you are, and you don't actually need the checklist anymore because it's all the things you cover. So your listing presentation and your buyer presentation are your checklist manifesto. What that means is, occasionally you're going to not get a listing, or you're not going to get a buyer to sign a buyer contract. Those are really interesting to look at to say, why did I not get the business? Because whatever the reason is, you can come back and make a better presentation. I always say in real estate, there's so many classes out there on overcoming objections. Well, how about eliminating objections? Your listing presentation and buyer presentation should eliminate every objection the consumer would have to hiring you. That is why our listing presentation here and our buyer presentation are so robust. They are long. By the way, we have agents that take these and say, hey, I want to cut down the number of slides. Totally fine. The reason they're so long is because we use these as our checklist manifesto of all the things we want to talk about on our presentation and eliminate any possible objection that the person would have. Now, if you get an objection, that means that there's an opportunity for you to come back and add a slide so that in the future you don't have that objection again. So this just kind of gives you an idea. This one we spend a lot of time focusing on things that many of our agents utilize, like they do professional photography and professional marketing. We syndicate to all the different websites, our social media marketing, our Real Scout app, the fact that we are experts in green living, our LAER University, the fact that our agents are well educated. We then go into pricing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you because it's a pretty long presentation, but you'll see how we teach the seller the impact of price to visibility. The lower the price, the more visible their property becomes. And this particular presentation is about 38 pages. Again, all of these are set up so that you can add your own content, you can add your own pages, you can delete pages, and you can change any of the pages. I also wanted to give you the buyer presentation. Now, up until last year, I would argue of our 800 or so agents, I would say probably up until last August, I would say probably 95% of our agents did not have a buyer presentation. I always felt we always offered a buyer presentation because I thought it made sense for our agents to have one, but many agents did not have one. So here's a copy of one of our buyer presentations. And by the way, we changed this one a little bit after August of last year, and I'll show you how. And by the way, we have both a Florida version and a New England version because it's two types of fiduciary duty in those marketplaces. Okay, so this is the buyer presentation. Again, this is super robust, and for some, 48 slides is like, no way, too many slides. That's totally fine. You can take some out. But a couple things I want to point out. Now, today, in my opinion, we're asking every buyer to sign some sort of agreement before we take them out to look at real estate. So again, we need to make sure that the buyer has a level of comfort in signing with us. Just like we're very used to all these years of doing a presentation and getting a seller to sign with us, we were used to the process of showing our value at a listing appointment and then asking for a signature. For many agents up until August, it was like, I'll show them my value by setting up 1,000 appointments and going and showing them around, and I don't have to have a buyer contract signed. In some states, the buyer contract has always been mandatory, which I like. But for most of our states, it is now something new since August. So this buyer presentation, again, is your checklist manifesto. It's all the things that you should cover, in my opinion, at a buyer appointment. And it is all designed to make the buyer feel super comfortable signing a contract with you. And we want to take out all objections and eliminate problems. Like, your buyer presentation is a checklist manifesto for your success. So this buyer presentation has the 10-step buying process. So step one is evaluation, consultation, and representation. And it talks about, do I even need a buyer agent? And why do I need a buyer agent? And then we go right into how agents are paid. And we talk about the buyer representation contract. And we go through, this is all the things your realtor agrees to do. And here's all the things that you agree to do as part of this buyer contract. And then whatever state you're in, you should put a screenshot of the actual contract so that you can go through it with them. And here's where you say, hey, we're going to request the seller to contribute towards the buyer agent fee. So one of the things that makes this buyer presentation a little unique is we lead with the piece that consumers are worried about the most. Oftentimes, real estate agents try to leave that to the very end, but it's occupying the mind of many buyer agents. Like, how much is this going to cost me? How much money do I need out of pocket? And when something is occupying somebody's mind, are they listening to anything else that you have to say? In my opinion, usually not. They're not listening to anything else you have to say as long as they are worried about price. So, um, lead with it right at the beginning of your presentation. Like, get that off the table. Like, hey, you don't have to worry about it. This is how our contract works. This is all the things I'm going to do for you. And this is how the pricing works. We can go through details even further once I go through all the other pieces of my presentation. But just to get that off the table, I want you to know how that works. It then goes into determining price range, like the fun stuff, evaluating mortgage options, shopping for more than just an interest rate. What's it mean to get pre-approved versus pre-qualified? What is mortgage insurance? Then we're going to start evaluating communities. Step 4, we're going to shop for real estate. Okay, here's another place where we are protecting ourselves. I said a few minutes ago that one of the cool things about having a presentation like this is it is your manifesto. It's your checklist manifesto. It's supposed to make it so that number one, you don't have any objections at the end of the presentation. If you do, then you come back and revise your manifesto so you don't get them again in the future. But also, you want to look at your business and say, where are the holes? What can I put into my presentation that will protect me for the future? And one of the areas where you can protect yourself is by making sure your consumers are not going on Zillow to look at real estate if you're working with buyers. So we all know that Zillow is not in the business of actually selling a house to the consumer. They are in the business of selling leads to real estate agents and mortgage professionals. So, too often, agents don't talk to their customer, their buyers, about Zillow. And so their buyer goes to Zillow thinking that's a good place to search for real estate. And when that happens, the buyer is led down a yellow brick road to another real estate agent. So in your presentation, you want to have a slide that says, hey, I want to talk to you about Zillow. You probably think the best place to go look for real estate is Zillow. I'm going to tell you right now, don't go look there. Number one, it is not a real-time search. In other words, I don't want you to fall in love with the house of your dreams, only to find out it went under agreement last week and it's not available. Secondly, you can't narrow your search down. So if you go play with Zillow, the search criteria you can only narrow in $50,000 increments. Also, many buyers think that they're contacting the listing agent when they go to Zillow, and that is not the case. And for sellers, these estimates are highly inaccurate. And most importantly, we want to save our buyers from getting inundated with sales calls from real estate people and mortgage people. By the way, for this to work, you have to have a really good search option for them. I always advocate for at LAER. We have a product called Real Scout that we encourage our agents to utilize. And the reason we do that is because Real Scout is like having your own Zillow, like you are the Zillow. In my opinion, the reason why many consumers go to Zillow is because many real estate agents put the client into an MLS search, and many of the MLS searches are just not good. Like they're slow, they don't give real time listing information, they're not pretty, they don't have a lot of pictures. So the MLS search for many of our MLSs is so underwhelming that it forces the consumer to go find a really cool place to search for real estate, and it ends up being Zillow, and then we lose the buyer. So put into your presentation why the consumer should not be going to Zillow. By the way, you should also educate the buyer through your presentation about how they can go look at open houses. Can they go look at open houses? Probably, but make sure that they are notifying people that they're under a buyer contract. So explain that. Can they look at an off-market property? Yes, but they have to know that they're under contract with their buyer agent and that you can help them negotiate on that for sale by owner. Step 5 is property due diligence, pricing and offer strategy. You can talk about bidding wars, writing the offer. So as you can see, all of this is designed to really make it so that the consumer feels 100% comfortable that they've chosen a great real estate agent. The other really nice piece about having a good buyer presentation is that uh, our business, unfortunately, is all about comparison. So if a buyer calls 3 different buyer agents, in my opinion, 2 of them are not even going to do a buyer presentation. There are still many real estate agents out there who are not doing a buyer presentation, and they do show up to show a piece of real estate, get the person to sign a document, and there's no real articulation of the agent's value. So by having a well-organized buyer presentation, you are, when that consumer begins comparing you to other real estate professionals, because we know there's a million of us, they're like, wow, this person has their act together. They gave me a nice, concise overview of everything, and I feel very comfortable signing a buyer contract. Other stuff that you'll find here, so we can kind of move off of the marketing and branding stuff. We have a buyer guide, a seller guide, an investor guide. We also have like these cute little Monopoly flyers, and it shows like the buying process on a Monopoly board or the selling process on a Monopoly board. We also have a preferred vendor list that if you are building your business by working with preferred vendors, we have a nice document that you can create your list so you can include it in your buyer packages and seller packages. We have these cute local guide newsletters. So let's just say you're doing an open house in Delray Beach, Florida. You could do a little locals guide of the 10 best places to visit in Delray Beach, Florida. So anyways, there's tons of stuff here. Explore as you have some time. We're going to move on to a different area. But before we do that, I started today and I said that your goal is to write down some things that you're going to go execute on after today's program. We don't want you sitting through 3 hours of a class gathering a fire hose of information and then leaving at noon and going about your schedule and showings and home inspections and the weekend and graduations and summer and not doing anything with this information. I'm going to give you a few things that I think you should execute on if you don't already have these for your business. By the way, I forgot to show you within that, within this guides, presentations, brochures, we have also been developing classes. Right now, you can go download a pretty comprehensive homebuyer course. It's meant to be like a multi-week homebuyer course, but you could pare that down into just a one-sitting home buying course and start offering courses at your office to generate business. Okay, so first, couple things I would execute on if you don't have these already. Number one, you have to have a buyer presentation in today's world. Just like you've always probably had a listing presentation, you need to have a buyer presentation. And you can get it right here. We've done most of the work. Next, you need a listing presentation. Again, if you don't work off listing presentations, they are your checklist manifesto. If you don't have a buyer presentation and a listing presentation for your business, I promise you that you have an inconsistent business because you're not working a consistent system for your business. The buyer presentation and the listing presentation create consistency so that you always have buyers and sellers in the pipeline. So buyer presentation and listing presentation are a must, and we've already created these for you. Third, I feel you should have a buyer package, a seller package, and a listing, a buyer package, a seller package, and an investor package. So 3 packages. What is a package? Well, first, it should have a folder with all of, so if you were to meet a buyer for the first time, this is a folder of information. It should include, like the buyer package should be a folder that includes a guide to buying a house, a LAER brochure or a brochure for whatever brokerage you're working with, your resume. Those are like the 3 minimum things. And plus there's other cool flyers and stuff that you could put into the package. A listing package should have a guide to selling a house, a LAER brochure or a brochure for your brokerage, and your resume. Those are the minimum, but there's other cool things that you can put in there from this button. So I showed you like a brochure for how the market affects pricing. That could go in there. I showed you in here, we had buyer and seller intake questionnaires. So you could put those in there. The investor package, same thing. In here, we have a nice investor package, like an investor booklet about investing in real estate. I would put that plus a brochure about the brokerage, your resume, and anything else from within there that you think might be nice, like the brochure on how market affects value, things like that. So you should have your buyer package, your seller package, and your investor packages all done. I feel you should have at least 10 of them done so that you, inside of you and your energy, you always feel like you're open for business. Too often what happens is we say to ourselves, like, I'll just put my package together when I have an appointment. But then you have an energy of not being ready for an appointment. And that energy basically tells the universe, like, don't give me an appointment right now because I don't want to put the work into having to gather all this information. Whereas if you have all of the stuff ready, the energy you have, the energy that you put out to the world, and this is all unconscious, the energy you put out to the world is, I have all these packages that I want to give out. They look amazing. I have 10 buyer packages and I cannot wait to give them to somebody. That is the energy that you put out into the world. So go get your buyer, seller, and investor packages done. Okay, let's talk
I
about
think there's so many
Clever.
ways to use these tools too, Stacy.
100%.
Like if I mean, buyer presentations now, buyers are probably the way to go in this changing market right now. Do you send some slides out or a presentation out before you, actually meet with someone,
100%.
or a follow-up. I mean, there's so many ways to use these tools at this point.
And we'll have Craig on in a few minutes to go through some of our sustainability stuff, but there's tons of sustainability stuff within our guides, presentations, and brochures. So if you are an agent that focuses on high performance homes, you'll find our high performance listing presentation. Or if you're working with buyers that are interested, which by the way, all the statistics out there say that most buyers are interested in high performance features. We have buyer presentations for that as well.
Stacy, there's a question. Is Real Scout free? I know at LAER it's part of the tech bundle, but if they're not at LAER and they want to get it on their own, do you know what the cost is for that? Or is that something they'd have to reach out to Real Scout for?
Yeah, I believe it was $39 a month. So at LAER, our tech bundle includes 3 products for $39 a month. I think and that's just discounted because we have a lot of agents, but I think you can get it for $39 a month. It's an awesome product. And by the way, Ashley's going to give you a little rundown on that in a little bit as well. A couple other resources I want to point out here is if you click on NAR settlement resources, we have all kinds of settlement stuff on there for you to check out. Specifically, what I like on here is we did write a playbook to all the real estate forms back in August. I don't think most agents need those right now, but there's all kinds of articles about why a seller should pay a buyer agent. And these are from third parties. So if you have a seller that's reluctant to pay a buyer agent, there's some great articles here for you to print out. Also, the social media assistant, we'll have Sergio give you an overview of our social media services in a few minutes, but if you need social media content, we have social media posts under the social media assistant tab. If you're a LAER agent and you need something designed for you, we have a button for special marketing requests, and we'll do anything you need. So just fill out the form at special marketing. Also, open house resources. What's really cool here that I wanted to point out, there's some sign-in sheets, little signs you can put around a house for an open house, things like that. But also I love this at the very bottom. There's activity sheets for kids. When you're doing an open house, don't forget to set up a little table for the kids with like activity sheets. So if somebody comes in and they have little kids with them, they're not rushed around the house, that there's a little place at the kitchen table where they can sit and color and be occupied. Next, commercial resources. If you're a LAER or any agent, actually, there's all kinds of commercial resources here. We put together a Canva listing presentation, a commercial listing presentation. We also have like a commercial offering memorandum, commercial valuation models, plus all the LAER logos and stuff like that. If you're a LAER agent who likes commercial, then sign up for our commercial networking group. This is just a group of agents that meets once a month and they focus on commercial stuff. They have speakers that come in and talk about commercial areas like commercial financing, 1031 exchanges, things like that. And let's go backwards. Signs, apparel, and print marketing. I'm going to come back to this in a little while because there's some cool places. But if you're a LAER agent, and you want to order personalized signs with your picture and contact info, or you want to order LAER stuff, swag, you can order here. I'm going to come back to these print marketing people in a little bit because there's some cool stuff here that I don't want you to miss. There's also a monthly newsletter here. In real estate, there's 2 different types of newsletters for our customers. One is an email newsletter and one is a print newsletter. Many agents like to have a print newsletter that like you can see, feel, and touch. You can put them out at open houses. You can leave them at business like the local pizza shop. I said last month I was so happy when I went to the little local hardware store in my town last month. And right on the front counter, one of our agents had ROAR reports all printed with her contact information. And I'm like, go Rosemary. Like she printed them and had them out right at the front desk at the, at of all places, a hardware store, which I think is wonderful. Anyways, you can go in here and these are templates. We put out a new newsletter every single month. And when you click on it, we put these big red circles so you know what has to be changed on it. We want to make sure you change out like your phone number and stuff like that. But these are really cool. One of the pieces that we share in our training programs is you can build a huge sphere of influence by focusing on vendor partners. So like landscapers and handymen and stuff. So if you're an agent that does not have a big sphere of influence, the fastest way to build your sphere is to build your sphere with people who already have a sphere of influence. And so you do that through vendors, and you go out each week and you meet a new vendor, a new landscaper, a new handyman. You can use your newsletter as a place to highlight them. So you do a little Q&A with the local landscaper, you include them here, you then put them into your email campaign, so they hear from you regularly. Anyways, you become like two-way referral source. You give them business, they refer you business. So this is the monthly ROAR report. There's a new one that comes out every single month. And that is for a print newsletter typically. If you're a LAER agent and you need any logos, we have all kinds of logos, not only for LAER, but we have specific ones for like our Cape and Islands logos, our Florida logos, but also all the realtor logos and fair housing logos. You can get it under that button. If you are a person that loves pop-bys and going and visiting people from your sphere each month, we have hundreds of pop-by tags. So for example, it's becoming summer, so let's click on sunscreen as a pop-by. Here's a cute, these are pop-by tags that are meant to be customized to you, and you tie them onto, this one is sunscreen. So if you basically go out and visit past customers each week and you never go empty-handed. You always have your little pop-by items so that you have a little gift to give. But we have all kinds of pop-by tags here so that you can do cute giveaways for your business. And two other pieces, and then I'll have our Chief Sustainability Officer give you a little presentation. We have a listing description generator, first of all. Any agent can use this. You don't have to be a LAER agent to use this. But if you fill this out, I know you can use ChatGPT. But for agents that don't like using ChatGPT, because it can be a little bit clunky if you're not used to it, you can just go to our listing description generator, put in how many paragraphs you want, your email address, the address of the property, and answer a few questions. And the system will write you a really nice description for the property. Fair warning, always check your AI, because I've seen it make fair housing errors. So you must read through your AI description to make sure it is not violating any fair housing laws inadvertently. So if you fill this out, it will email you the listing description, and then you can kind of fix it up, make sure there's no fair housing violations, and then put it into your listing description. Secondly, we have an agent bio generator. I'll talk about this in a little while. I share this in our Algorand business growth system class. It is a pet peeve of mine that agents don't have good bios. Like many real estate agents, you Google them and you would never hire that agent because they either don't have any photo of themselves. The first thing, by the way, consumers do when they meet somebody brand new, whether it's the person that their high schooler is now dating, they're going to go Google that person, or it's a real estate agent who is recommended by their next door neighbor. They're going to go Google you. And that is their first impression of you. And so many real estate agents have no photo or a very outdated photo. And the first page of a Google search is a mess with like no bio, doesn't say anything about you. You want people when they Google you to have warm and fuzzy feeling like, hey, I am in good shape with this person. You want them to have already made a decision, just like most real estate agents, I hope, wouldn't put a listing in MLS with lousy photos, because you're not going to give people a warm and fuzzy about coming into the house. Why wouldn't you do that for yourself in your own business? So, all right, that kind of covers a lot of the marketing. There's more marketing stuff, which we'll go over in a little bit, but this is kind of the main pieces so far. Next, I want to have Craig Foley, our Chief Sustainability Officer, come on for a few minutes. He's fresh back from Washington, D.C., so I know he's got all kinds of new stuff. His head's spinning. I could see smoke coming out of his ears with all kinds of new stuff on the sustainability front. So welcome, Craig.
Thanks, Stacy. Before you take off, though, just a couple of questions that popped up in the chat. Lindsay said she loves the newsletters, which I agree with 100%. And just because I'm not sure we really cover this, but even in the newsletter section, right, because it's on Canva, you could pull that down. If you're in another brokerage, if you love the newsletters, you could still change the LAER brand and all of that stuff and make it your own, right?
100%.
And there won't be any lawyers from LAER tracking those folks down to sue them, right?
No
Or an
demand
open source broker.
letters. No, everything we have is available for everybody. We want you to be successful. Our goal from the very beginning was to help all agents be the best versions of themselves. We think it'd be wonderful if you work here, but we forgive you even if you don't, and we'll still help you if we can. So of course, you're welcome to use it all.
And then Marianne asked in the buyer to seller packets, maybe if you could just hit Canva one more time before I do my thing. She says she uses a book, right? Are there existing book covers with the LAER brand? But it's fairly easy in Canva to be able to turn the presentation into anything you want. Can you just hit that one more time?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, Marianne, if you reach out to the Happy Agent team, we can help you with this. But right within Canva, first of all, Marianne, we have a buyer booklet. So definitely look at the buyer booklet, because that might be all you need, is that you don't need the whole presentation. But if you like the 48-page buyer presentation we have, but you want that for a booklet, then it's super easy in Canva. There's literally a button that you can press within Canva where it will change the format for you. So you say, oh, I want this to be in 8.5 by 11, for example, and it will go redo the whole thing. It takes a little bit of tweaking because sometimes there's certain pages that might not look as nice, but 100%, you can take everything that is already done and convert it into a booklet format.
Yeah, and then she was asking about CMAs, but we can do that through Realtors Property Resource, or through
and,
as a LAER agent.
CMA.
Yeah. And then Carrie asked a question which I don't think we've ever had, and I think it's a really good question. Do you offer a class or cover how to clean up a Google search for yourself?
So it is a great question.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that as a class for July. It is if you go on to our YouTube station, youtube.com/LAER training. By the way, for LAER agents, we're about to launch in the between now and next sales meeting, which is next week, a phenomenal agent productivity app that's going to have all of the training on there, and you'll be able to track your production and do your social media all from within our app. It's kind of cool. But for now, if you go to our youtube.com/LAER training, I believe it's the third Algorand class. So we have a whole section of Algorand, which is our real estate growth system class. They're the third class, because the first class was an overview of the system. No, it's the second class. If you go to the Algorand 12-week program on our YouTube station, the second class is all on Google. So, but I like the idea of coming up with a class that's named just that, so people
Yeah.
will know, like, here's all the things you can do to clean up your, because it's what's going to come up on your Google search, by the way, is your realtor.com profile, which you can change for free, your homes.com profile, which you can change for free, and Zillow.com profile, which you can change for free. And then you can also go change like your LinkedIn, your Facebook, stuff like that. But I think that's a great class. We'll do that in July.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so I'm going to take you back to LAER Agent Services because I just want to highlight some of the things that we have in the sustainability section. So if you scroll down to Agent Toolbox, you can see, I mean, as you can see, we just have a ton of resources for realtors. You can do such a deep dive on so many levels of the industry here with the resources that have been produced by Stacy, by Sergio, by our marketing team. Just some incredible resources available. But I'm going to just highlight the sustainability piece here and some of the resources that are here. I teach the green designation nationally. I'm all over the place. I'm going to be teaching it next week at Greater Boston Association of Realtors as well. Definitely recommend you getting that class, as you're going to hear as we go through here. I think a lot of agents, when they hear green designation, they think, it's probably a class for tree huggers, right? And look, some of my best friends are tree huggers. Love to have them in the class, but it's a lot more deeper content than that. In fact, I think you should probably take a picture, Stacy, of me hugging my heat pump hot water heater, because the technology is the big change, right? Heat pumps, heat pump hot water heaters, heat pump dryers now, heat pumps in homes like the one I have in my 1895 Victorian here in Melrose, solar PV, all of the technology, building science, the science of building homes better and new construction, HERS scores, all of the stuff that is definitely part of the industry that agents need to be educated on, particularly if they're representing homes with these kinds of high performance features, because there's even a different valuation process, believe it or not, than there is in listing a typical single family home, existing or new. And in fact, if you go down here to selling and valuing high performance homes, there's an article there that I did about a year and a half ago on the process of doing it, and that process is very different. One of the things that I'll get in the green designation classes is, oh, this stuff is great. It's all, good to learn about this new stuff, but appraisers don't recognize this stuff. And that is wrong, believe it or not. In fact, the Appraisal Institute, if you click on this piece right here, Green Appraisal Addendum, you'll find a whole bunch of information in there. And one of the pieces is that the Appraisal Institute created back in 2009 a supplement for an addendum for the URA, or the Uniform Residential Appraisal Report. And that's a 5-page document on all of the high performance features in a home. And there are a set of appraisers broken down by state, which we should probably add to, I think it's in the appraisal addendum piece. But there's a set of appraisers broken down by states that have gone through the valuation of sustainable buildings program that the Appraisal Institute offers. That's a very, very rigorous course set. The green designation for agents is 2 full days. The first day is about building science, and the second day is about how you turn this into business as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, marketing and valuing these homes appropriately. And the appraisers that have gone through that valuation of sustainable buildings program have a much, much more rigorous course set. And we've got agents from across the United States that that understand the valuation process using an income approach, for instance, for host-owned solar PV to add on to the comp. So it's not only about comps anymore, it's about using different valuation approaches that may be adding value that you didn't know about to the listing. Or, as the market starts to shift here, additional contributory value that a valuation of sustainable buildings appraiser would add if the appraisal comes up a little bit short, right? I mean, can you imagine having an additional $25,000 of contributory value in a tightening marketplace in which, if you demand a qualified appraiser, which you can do, we can't pick a specific appraiser anymore, but we can demand a qualified one. And I make the case that if you're a listing agent and you're listing homes with these features, you're really you're not doing all you can to protect the equity that your seller has made with these kinds of investments in their home, right? So there's a whole set of tools here that we have for you that I really want to encourage you to take a look at. Some great consumer guides in here in this section on things like heat pumps, a script for realtors that the National Association of Realtors produced in 2023 on climate risk. So if you go to Zillow right now on any active home that's available in your marketplace, you'll scroll down and you'll see an environmental risk section that Zillow has. They've entered into a licensing agreement with a foundation called First Street Foundation that produces that climate risk modeling. And the climate risk isn't like a FEMA flood map where it's here and now. Riskfactor.com uses predictive analytics to look forward 15 and 30 years and look at the impact of a changing climate and where the risk might be. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm hearing this more and more from agents in the classes that I teach that, buyers come up and say, there's a risk factor of 8 out of 10 here on wind. What does that mean? And if you're caught and you don't know how to answer that question or how to help help the buyer understand the process and maybe some other resources that may be even better, you're caught off guard. So these are the kinds of things that we're really trying to deal with, help agents with. And I'm really proud that LAER is a real leader in this space. Bunch of things down in this section in here as well that are really important. Pearl certification is one of our great partners at LAER Realty Partners. They were an NAR REACH program in the class of 2017. So I don't know if you know about the REACH program or not, but NAR invests in 6 to 10 companies every year that we think will advance the realtor brand. And Pearl certification is a green building certification for existing homes. We're their leading partner. And in fact, Stacy and I, when we were down in DC this last week on Saturday, had a meeting with their CEO and their president, 2 different people, about a new potential lead generation program on that Pearl wanted to meet with us about, because we are the leaders in this part of the industry. So there may be a really, you'll hear about this from Stacy and I, hopefully, some point later in the summer here, about a new program to develop lead gen for both listings and buyers for our green designated agents here at LAER Realty Partners. So a lot of cool stuff happening here in this world. And again, I'm very proud of the work that we do. There's a lot of stuff going on here right now with the Inflation Reduction Act. So one of the things that I do, I'm very engaged with our phenomenal advocacy team that we have in our DC office and in Washington DC. We have some of the top lobbyists in the United States that are associated with National Association of Realtors. And with the new administration, the House released their reconciliation bill, a week and a half ago. And in that reconciliation bill, there are some really powerful tools to increase your home, adding high performance features that were passed through the Inflation Reduction Act that were set to expire in 2032. Out of the new bill with the House reconciliation bill, they're planning on sunsetting that in 2025. So the 30% investment tax credit that you get for putting a $20,000 solar PV system on your rooftop, being able to take $6,000 off from what you owe the federal government, may expire much more quickly than we expected. Now, one of the things that we're working on with our great lobbyists is to see if we can get moderate Republicans in the Senate to at least find a more reasonable place for that to set, maybe 2028, between 25 and 2032, so that homeowners can and business owners can invest in these kinds of improvements. Click on this when you get a chance, the Green Building Registry. This is a really, it's a very powerful tool. When you, and put in, the community that I live in, you live in. So I live in Melrose, Massachusetts. There's about 6,000 single family homes in our little town north of Boston here. And you'll see almost 700 of those homes have significant green building improvements. You can go on the map and click on an individual home, find the address, and see the improvements that are there. In our state, in the state of Massachusetts, there's also the solar PV data about the home that's in MLS PIN. So our leading MLS in the state of Massachusetts has a set of data fields, 4 data fields that are very important when you're listing a listing with solar PV on the rooftop, photovoltaics on the rooftop. And in the Green Building Registry, you can find those 4 mandatory data fields from a third party to be able to use when you're listing a home. More articles in here, and these are really important. Stacey's already pointed some of these out, but we have specific presentations for agents that are interested in this intersection of real estate and sustainability. It may be that you only want to pull a couple of these things into your traditional buyer agency presentation or your listing agency presentation, but we have developed multiple formats for our agents across multiple marketplaces for, that you can use, that you can do a complete presentation on this stuff. So one of the things I always do if I'm meeting a new home seller is I ask them before we meet if they've had a home energy assessment through the Mass Save program in the state of Massachusetts. And if they say yes, I ask them if they've made any in the improvements that were suggested in the energy assessment. If they say yes to that, then I'm going to specifically tailor a listing presentation to them, because I can guarantee you that the other agents that you're competing against don't have a clue about this stuff. And if they've made those kinds of monetary investments, they want to know that they have a listing agent that can represent that stuff appropriately in the marketplace and make sure that the investments that they've made are realized as equity when they go to sell their homes. We have sustainability reports, a lot of information about solar right now. There have been, particularly over the last couple of years, specific examples that I've seen of, and this is one of the things that I probably do most at LAER is receive agents' questions are about listing homes with high performance features like solar PV or buying them. Ton of questions about how power purchase agreements work, how solar leases work, the process of listing homes when the homeowner owns these systems, that valuation change. There's a lot going on in the solar industry right now, but with the increase on tariffs and interest rates, I have seen examples, particularly in third-party ownership arrangements, where the homeowner, lets the solar installer put solar on the rooftop. That third-party installer still owns the system, and I have definitely seen some egregious ways in which those third parties, and it doesn't happen all the time, but more and more I'm seeing it happen over the last couple of years with the changes in the marketplace, that they've been pretty egregious in terms of the solar salesman doing things that aren't necessarily in the benefit of the homeowner. And so when you're going to sell one of those homes, you need to understand what a power purchase agreement is. In most cases, there's huge benefits for the new buyers. In some cases, there aren't. So how are you going to deal with that with the seller and the buyers negotiating the home? I am going to just throw into the chat, if I can get to it here we go. I'm going to throw into the chat the next opportunity to take the green designation, which I'm teaching next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday, live at the Greater Boston Association of Realtors in Reading. So if you're an agent here in the Northeast, that's the next chance to get your green designation. Again, 2 full days, kind of like what we're doing right here. It's kind of like drinking water from a fire hose. There's a lot of high quality information, but definitely encourage you to take a look at that. I'm going to just throw this into the chat too, because we just released the new version of the green designation, which I was very excited to be the initial teacher of for the Center for Real Estate Development. This is some of the quotes from realtors that have taken that class, that it was just kind of mind-blowing. It was much more information, high quality information, than they ever could have expected. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have agents saying, my God, every realtor in the business should take this class once they walk out of the classroom. A couple of other opportunities here. I'm teaching this week, actually, down on the Cape. I think this is Thursday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not even sure when I'm going down there. But 2 continuing ed classes, 4 continuing ed credits for Massachusetts homeowners. So if you're on the Cape, maybe I'll see you in class. The fundamentals of sustainable homes and selling the sun, which is all about solar PV and the residential real estate transaction. So I'll throw in the chat the information, Stacy, about the Cape Cod and the Islands Association of Realtors that are coming right up here this week, and we'll be down there teaching these classes as well.
All right, awesome stuff. I like to
And
remind.
you're a green designated agent, right?
I am a green designated agent, and I like to remind every agent that, like, it's becoming 10 years ago, this could be like a niche in your business. It's becoming so important to get your green designation, only because I keep saying that the last 5 years, I've been a broker now for 25 years, and the last 5 years, I've seen the most lawsuits at my own brokerage than I've seen in 25 years. And I think that to best protect our customers, we have to understand green. It's so important because you're giving out bad information. I've seen real estate agents who discourage somebody from a house with solar panels because they don't understand it. I've seen real estate agents take listings with solar panels and not understand the contracts that go with it. There's been so much potential liability if you don't understand even valuations of real estate, that a property, if you have 2 houses that are exactly the same except one has green upgrades and the other one doesn't, then the one that has the upgrades there is value that is built in from those upgrades. So you are becoming a liability to your own business. By the way, I did a class recently, Craig, on how to be a bulletproof agent, how to protect your business, because we all have to be better at it. We all have to like become so much smarter when it comes to documenting. We have to be better when it comes to like being, I think like making sure our people have representation, like an attorney that represents them to distribute the liability. But this is an interesting fact. There are 1.5 million realtors, I think, right now in the realtor organization. There are 1.3 million attorneys in the United States.
That's interesting.
So we're about to be outnumbered
Yeah.
by attorneys. So, and at least that the industries are very, and by the way, I'm an attorney as well. So I unfortunately think that we live in a very litigious society, and all of the lawsuits against our industry over the last 2 years have made things just much worse. The
Yeah.
consumers now are like really looking, if something goes wrong after the closing, which is when it always happens, it's never before when people are excited about buying their new house. When something goes wrong after the closing, the very first person they're going to point their finger at is you. So
Yeah. And, there's the fiduciary duty part of this too,
100%.
right? That you mentioned earlier. And even if you're a Florida agent and you're a transactional agent, you've got a little bit more wiggle room in Florida. But the reality is, we want to take it, we want to help our clients. And if you're not knowledgeable and competent in this part of the industry, and there's a home with solar PV, we've got agents at LAER and across the country in different brokerages. Refer that business out.
Exactly.
Right? There's no point in exposing yourself to that kind of liability. Get an agent, refer this out to an agent that knows what they're doing and knows how to service that customer appropriately.
And by the way, getting your green designation is easier and the cheapest it's ever been. Like it's not even an expensive designation. And it's like offered constantly. So why not just go get the designation? That way you're
Yeah.
protecting yourself and protecting your clients, which is why people hire you to begin with.
Lindsay, thanks for the kind words. You're my favorite real estate agent of the day now. Absolutely. And yeah, well, we do classes online. In fact, when I taught the first release of the new material for the green designation in May, that was a national class that NAR put together. So that was online as well. And just pay attention to, either my Facebook page or the LAER Agent Services. We're trying to keep people updated and make sure they know the opportunities out there to take these classes. Is green?
And by the way, I know Florida Fair is working on getting you out to Florida, so that's cool.
Beautiful. I'm going to go to Costa Rica in November to teach the green designation down there. Mila said, is green one time or needs to be updated regularly? That's a great question, Mila. So it is a one-time class, right? So when the class was originally passed in 2008 by NAR, the designation, we still have agents that are green designated from the original class. But as you can imagine, this part of the industry is evolving very, very quickly and changes very, very rapidly. So one of the benefits of being a green designated agent is that we have quarterly online through Zoom, NAR coordinates, we have thought leaders in the industry to do educational sessions to keep you up to date. There is a Facebook page that NAR has specifically for green designated agents, in which there's a lot of material that goes back and forth across the United States to ask questions, to make comments, and it's a very, very good Facebook page. So, Mila, you're absolutely right. There's a lot evolving in this industry, but once you get the green designation, you're a green designated agent, assuming there is a fee that's involved with any designation with NAR that you pay annually, but I think the benefits that we have for green designated agents are quite clear, and that's something that we go over in the class multiple times. Thanks for the questions, everybody.
And by the way, that's one of the reasons that we came up with our green buyer presentation and our green listing presentation, because I think one of the wonderful pieces that has come out of all the changes in the last year with our organization is that real estate agents are being forced to show their value. Like, before, anybody could just, you get a call off Zillow, you could go show up and show a property. And that's what most people did, because by the way, if you didn't do that, there were 30 other real estate agents who would. Well, now everybody has to get that contract signed. So no matter who they call, the consumer is going to have to sign some sort of agreement to go look at a property. How wonderful is it that even like a green presentation that most consumers are going to want to hear about your value if they're going to be signing a document. They don't even know what the document says. We even know just from getting people to sign, like people worry about the agency disclosure, which says in big writing across the top, this is not a contract. But people want to know more information. They want to be really secure when they sign something. So I think it's wonderful to have designations, first of all, because right off the bat, it separates you from everybody else. So the price, I think there's a greater cost in not having designations than there is in paying for a designation if you're utilizing them. If you think that the paying for the designation is not worth it, it's because you're not using it in your business to separate yourself from the 10 other real estate agents who every consumer knows. So I'd be pushing it, like saying, hey, if you're going on a listing appointment and there's any sustainable features in a property, which most homes have some sustainable features. They might not have solar panels, but there's a million other sustainable features the house could have. It's so much easier for you to win that listing if you are green designated. Just having the letters, just saying that you're green designated has now put you on a pedestal as compared to all the other real estate agents, because we know statistically most other real estate agents don't have the designation. So why wouldn't you utilize that in your business?
And
So
your footprint, by the way, is all over the new version of the green designation. So we've got, knowledge is not power, execution is power. We have an accountability checklist. It's very successful. It really translates the information stuff that you can do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. So
that's
thanks
great.
so much for everything you do, Stace.
Aw, thank you. All right, let's see. All right. I mentioned this when we were back under the marketing section, and there was a slide there or a button there. I'll show you where it is in a few minutes. But under that button, there were a few pieces of technology I wanted you guys to know about, only because it pertains to marketing and branding yourselves. I don't get paid for any of these. By the way, I don't get paid to push the green designation. Like, I just believe in it. So same with all these other technologies. We're just telling you because we want you to be better. We want you to be the best of the best. And what's so great about our industry, it is not hard to be the best, because sadly, there's so much mediocrity in our business that just a little bit of effort and you could be the cream of the crop. So, like, just get a couple designations and you become the cream of the crop. That's how easy it is in our industry. How lucky are you that you get to, like, become the cream of the crop without, think about all the other industries. To be the cream of the crop, like, you have to go through 10 years of education. You got to get master's degrees and doctorates. In our industry, you just have to get a green designation and you've already, like, taken your business up a level as compared to all the other real estate agents. But make sure you're sharing that and you're articulating that in your presentations and in your documents and on your business cards, that everywhere you go, you're in the business of articulating what makes you better than the other 1.5 million real estate agents. Designations is like an easy way to get there. All right. 9 cool businesses that will change your business. And I'll show you, these are all linked on the LAER Agent Services. But I wanted to create a little presentation because just to make it super clear, get out your pen and paper, because some of these should be on the list of things that you're going to execute on in your business. I probably shouldn't do this after the green presentation, but I'm going to talk about mailings. I should probably do this first and then green, because this isn't super green, by printing out more mailers. But MLSmailings.com is a game changer for your business. Here's why. As your business grows, you will want to scale your business. That means that you have to be able to do more with less time as you do more business. So you have to be really good at scaling and leveraging your time. And one of the ways you could do that is through MLSmailings.com. This is a print marketing company that does just listed, just sold postcards. But what is unique about this company is it hooks directly to your MLS. So you hook it to your MLS and you tell the system, every time I list a house, I want to send 100 postcards to the neighborhood to let them know that I've listed the house. And every time I sell a house, I would like 100 postcards to go to the neighborhood to let them know that I've sold the house. The reason I'm an advocate for mailers is because email has become an almost impossible way to market yourself. I won't say completely impossible. It's still possible, but email is just so jammed with information that it's really hard to get a message across in email because there's so many of them. Not the case with print mailers. There's less and less print mailers, in fact. So I'm a fan of marketing through print mail, and especially just listed, just sold postcards. This company, MLS Mailings, makes it easy because it's a set it and forget it program. You just set it up and it will send them automatically when you list and sell real estate. And it's not super expensive. If you do the smaller postcards, it's $100. If you do the larger postcards, it's $127. That includes all the postage. So that's my number one. This is my second favorite marketing company, TPMCO, the Personal Marketing the Personal Marketing Company. They have a lot of different products, by the way. They do mailers, they do recipe card mailers, they do just listed mailers. But my favorite package that they offer is they offer a 21 mailer. So 21 mailings over 5 years for $48, a one-time charge of $48, and that will send 21 mailers over a 5-year period. Why is that so great? Well, first of all, it's mail. 70% of consumers say direct mail is more personal than an online transaction. Direct mail open rates are like 90%. In other words, everybody's opening their mailbox and reading the direct mail. But this is why this particular product is so important, is according to the National Association of Realtors, 89% of buyers that are surveyed right after a closing say that they would use their agent again or recommend their agent to others. However, in reality, only 11% of homeowners use the same agent again. That's a staggering number. 89% of consumers interviewed shortly after a closing like their real estate agent and would use them again. But in reality, only 11% actually do. Holy cow. Why is that? Well, probably because some real estate people are really bad at following up after a closing. And I get it, because now you've invested your heart, your soul, your energy, and there's a lot of energy that goes into closing a transaction. And as soon as it's closed, now the energy is over here working on finding the next transaction. And so we forget about the one that just closed because that one closed. So we're over here now working on this pool of business to try to find our next person. And so we kind of forget, some agents just forget to stay in touch with that person that just closed. This is why I love this particular direct mail campaign. Oftentimes people do decide to move in the first 5 years. They get a job change, or they want to upgrade or downgrade. And this makes it super easy. You just go in and buy this once, and for 5 years, the person's going to get a mailer from you. And it's a mix of mailers. So some of them are a magazine. Some of the mailers are a magazine. Some of the mailers are a postcard. And the initial mailer is just a letter. So anyways, everything has your picture and your contact information on it. So I think it's a really nice way to just make sure you don't forget to stay in touch with a client. Because even if you do forget, they remember for you. $48, a one-time charge. It's TPMCO, thepersonalmarketingcompany.com. And then here's the thank you mailing, the 10 home topics, postcards, and then 10 issues of Today's Living magazine. I think you can't beat that for $48. By the way, if you want to receive some sample pieces from TPMCO, you could scan this with your phone. I'll leave it there for a second. And they'll send you like a little welcome package with all kinds of sample pieces. Anyways, their pieces are beautiful. And like I said, they have all kinds of different marketing programs that you can sign up for. But the one that for me is a no-brainer is that $48 one-time charge to make sure that your clients know who you are 5 years later when they're ready to buy or sell again. Next, number 3 is Wise Pelican. This is also a print marketing company. They do all kinds of mailers, brochures, postcards, mailers. Lots of things I like about Wise Pelican. By the way, if you go to our YouTube station at youtube.com/LAER training, you'll find a class we recently did with our friends at Wise Pelican. I like it for a few reasons. Number one, it'll hook right into your MLS. So if you're doing like a postcard mailing about your new listing, you just plug in the MLS number and it pulls everything and does your postcard, so you don't have to. It also will help you generate a QR code so that you can collect leads. I always tell our agents that if you're doing any type of postcard mailing, pull your QR code for fellow so that the lead goes directly into your fellow database. But even if you don't have a fellow database, then the system, Wise Pelican, has a lead capture system. It's that you could it'll put the QR code on your mailer, and it will just have a place where the person could sign up for a free CMA, and then the system will email you saying the person wants a CMA. But here's the loaded from MLS that you can press a button and it just loads all your listing information in from MLS. And here's where the QR code goes on it. Anyways, it's a really nice mailing. Next, especially for our Florida agents, I love rspUSA.com. What I like about rspUSA.com is they do these market newsletters for homeowners associations. In Florida, there's tons of homeowners associations. So you put in the property address, and you could do a mailer to say 100 or 200 properties within the HOA. It'll send everybody in there update of all the recent closings in their neighborhood, and it's like a newsletter format. The other thing RSP USA does, which I think is very unique and cool, is that you can do mailer campaigns. So, for example, if you're going after expired listings, you could do for example, 8-card mailing campaign so that the expired gets 8 cards from you over 8 weeks, or 6 cards over 6 weeks, or 4 cards over 4 weeks. I love the fast track postcards because it is a campaign. So every time there's an expired, you put them into a campaign and it'll send them several cards so that you stay in touch. Next app, which I think is kind of cool, is Showami. If you ever need an agent to show a house for you, Showami is on-demand showing agents, kind of the Uber of real estate. You can put a bid out where you basically bid on an agent you say, hey, I'll pay you $50 to go show a property for me. And what's great is the system has it set up so that the agents who do this sign away all their rights to work with that customer. So you don't have to worry about the customer being stolen. It's also great for agents looking to earn some extra money. So if you're slow, we have agents sometimes that go drive for Uber, for example, because they need some extra money. Why not do it within the industry? Say, I'll be a Showami agent and make some extra money on the side showing real estate. But basically, you put out like a proposal. You'll say number of showings, price per showing, and you just pay the agent directly. Next cool app for your business is Exposio app. I am an advocate for professional photography. And I really think that you shouldn't list a property, whether it's a $50,000 mobile home or a $4 million estate. I think the property should have professional photography. That being said, some agents choose not to do professional photography, and they take pictures with their cell phone. If you're taking pictures with your cell phone, at a minimum, use the Exposio app, because they'll make it look like a professional photo. I actually tested this on on a property I sold for myself, and I did the Exposio app. So I went and took pictures with my phone. I then re-exposed them, and basically it's about $1 per photo, unless you buy in bulk. You can pay up front and get them even cheaper. But if you don't want to have a contract or anything, you take all the photos, you then upload them into the Exposio app. It then shows you what they all look like once they've re-exposed them and made them look prettier. And then you pick the ones that you want to buy for $1 each, and then you re-download the ones that you've purchased. I did this, and I will tell you, the professional photography still comes out better. This is better than just a plain iPhone photo, but it's not quite as good as a professional photo. Next is yellowletterscomplete.com. This is great if you like doing handwritten notes or little yellow letters. This company got its start with little yellow letters, like leaving a little yellow letter, lined paper in somebody's mailbox because the property looks abandoned, for example, or needs work and you want to see if they have interest in selling. But where this is really good is, let's just say for the holidays, you want to send a handwritten holiday card to everybody in your database, and there's 400 people in your database, and you don't want to write 400 personal notes to people. Yellow Letters Complete will do that for you. So they have two versions, an AI handwriting, and they also have a version where they actually have humans write them for you if you prefer something that is clearly not AI, that a person actually wrote it for you. But I've used this as well. For every year, we do something for our agents for Mother's Day and for Father's Day. And a few years ago, I did one with handwritten notes, and I used the Yellow Letters Complete system. Next is Markful, markful.com. There is a LAER page if you're a LAER agent, but great site for ordering all kinds of stuff, print materials, things like that. I'm also a big fan of homes.com. Homes.com has been outspending Zillow for getting consumers to come to their portal to search for real estate. The reason I love homes.com is because the listing agent is listed on each property, which is, as you know, Zillow by law has to put it on their page, but it's at the very, very bottom and you can't find who the listing agent is. Homes.com always puts the listing agent prominently on each listing. So Homes.com has advertising opportunities. The amount they charge is dependent on how much business you did in the last 12 months. But I have had some agents that swear by it because they've been doing it now for a year and they get leads from it. Either way, homes.com also has a free agent page. So at a minimum, you should go to your free agent page on homes.com. You can Google and it'll tell you how to set up your page, but upload your photo, put your bio in, and put your contact information, and at least take advantage of the free resources available to you. All right. Next, we are back at LAERagentservices.com. By the way, a lot of what I just showed you is under this signs, apparel, and marketing button. So if you scroll down here, you'll see MLS mailings, the personal marketing company, Wise Pelican, Yellow Letters Complete, and that RSP. Okay, let's go back now. So we've covered much of the marketing stuff. I'll have Sergio come on in a minute and give you a quick rundown of some of the additional pieces that LAER agents get. But before I do that, I just want to go through some training and coaching stuff. First, every agent here should go to youtube.com/LAER training. We have so much training content and we add to it every single month. So it's youtube.com/LAER training. You're going to find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classes here. Go check those out. We add new content every single week. By subscribing, you'll never miss a class. So we offer live training classes every week. And as soon as we offer the live class, we then record it and we put it on our YouTube station. If you subscribe to our YouTube station, which you can do right at the top, there's a subscribe button. If you subscribe to the station, every time we add a new class, it'll just send you a push notification that we just uploaded a new Quantum Sparks class, for example. So at a minimum, go sign up for our YouTube station. Also, under this same link, I clicked on classes, meetings, and coaching. You can, couple things here. You can see the LAER printable training calendar. This goes out at the beginning of the month. If you're a LAER agent, you want to print out and see all of our training coming up for that month, you could see it there. But also, if you go to our training calendar, you can see our calendar, our Google Calendar of all of our upcoming classes. And by the way, at the bottom, you can press a button and integrate our training calendar into your training calendar so that you'll never miss a class as well. These are all live training classes. Most of them are by Zoom. So check out our training calendar. Now I want to go back as well because there's some really cool stuff under business plans and growth systems. So there's 3 different tools for you to take a look at. The first is our Algorand system. Algorand is a blueprint that we wrote for real estate agents on how to get to 30 transactions a year. One of the challenges in our business is if you're a newer agent, what do you do when you have no other business going? So you wake up every day and like, what are the steps you should be taking to organize your business? With that, we wrote Algorand. This is a 12-week. Well, first, it's even beyond the 12-week program that we wrote. At a minimum, every agent should download the workbook, because some agents take the workbook, which gives you step-by-step instructions on how to build a successful real estate business. It'll tell you exactly what to do. It's based on the checklist manifesto. Oh, I don't know how I went there by accident. It's based on the checklist manifesto, and it walks you through exactly. It's based on 7 checklists: a yearly checklist, a monthly checklist, and a weekly checklist, as well as a checklist for new buyers, new sellers, when you get a new listing, and a people appreciation event checklist. The whole system is based on 7 checklists, which get executed timely throughout 12 months. And it has a tracking system, and it will get you to 30 transactions per year. Download the book. Some agents go through and they can complete the whole program without the classes. If you want extra help, the next step is to go watch the 12-week program. So you can see all 12 classes here. I teach all 12 of them. And this breaks down each part of the program into bite-sized chunks, so that each week you focus on a different area, such as the weekly checklist or the monthly checklist. And it talks about like some of the common traps that you might run into. So that is the Algorand program. We also have here a traditional business plan. This is like, if you go Google business plan for real estate, that's what this is. This is like the traditional plan that many agents use, where you kind of look at what your last year's production and break it down to how many buyer appointments you have to do, how many listing appointments. You figure out what percentage of them you actually close, and it helps you plan out your year. This is just a traditional business plan. The third tool that we have here is, we call it a simple plan. This is a different type of business plan, in that if you want to have a huge jump in your business, in other words, if you want to go from $2 million a year in annual production to 20 million in annual production, you have to become a different version of you. You have to become a different person. This breaks down who you are right now, because the person who you are right now is achieving the results that you have right now, and who do you need to become to achieve the results you wish to achieve. And then it helps you create that person so that you can begin living as the person you need to be to achieve the results you want. So there's 3 different plans for you to check out there. And all of these are under agent growth and development. Also, if you need CE classes, we have a partnership with the CE shop. You can click on that, and that's for online classes. And I think next what I'm going to do is have Sergio just give you a quick rundown on some additional marketing pieces that are available for LAER agents. And then after that, I'm going to go over some really cool technology tools for you to implement in your business. So welcome, Sergio.
Thanks, Stacy. We have a quick question here, I think from Mila, about YouTube on that channel. So when you go to that channel, there is a video that plays automatically. So that's probably what you're hearing. You can pause the video, or you can close the tab. And I think, Stacy, I think we need to update that video.
Good. Yeah, maybe put like Quantum Sparks or Algorand as the
Yeah.
first video.
Awesome. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. All right, so I'm just going to cover a couple of programs that we have for our LAER agents. These programs are just for LAER agents. They're very quick, so I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. Now, we have the LAER listing bundle, right? So the LAER marketing bundle. When your home goes live on the MLS, our team gets to work. We create this whole marketing package for your listing. We give you everything you need to list or to market your listing, both online and on the web. I just saw a trash truck drive by, so if you hear some noise, we'll be fine, hopefully. Now, we create this within 24 hours of your listing going live on the MLS. We send you an email with ready-to-use pieces, as well as Canva links. So we're always sending you Canva links so you can go in and customize it even further, or change out the photos, or if you have a price change down the line, you can make those changes. So let me give you a demo of what that looks like. So we sent out this marketing bundle earlier. Again, you get an email that looks just like this. It'll say your concierge marketing package. So if you had a listing and you can't find it in your email, what I like to do is just do a search for concierge. It's a very unique word, and you'll see them pop up. Or you can do a search for your listing address. We can scroll down and we'll see 3 links. These top 2 links are for Canva templates. And then this bottom link that says download bundle is the link you use to use the ready-to-use pieces. Let me see if we have a question. Oh, yep. Okay, great, Mila. Now, when we click on this download bundle, it will open up a Google Drive folder. Now, you don't need to be signed into Google Drive or subscribe to Google Drive to use it. If you are a LAER agent and have a Google Workspace with us, you already have Google Drive. But it does make it easy for us to share these with you, and then you can sort of bookmark these folders if you need to reference them again. But you don't need Google Drive to open these, to download these and use these. Now, you'll see a PDF for your flyer. You can use these by clicking more actions and download. This will download a PDF that you can print out at any of our offices, or you can send this PDF out to FedEx, Kinko's, or Staples to print out. They have some nice quality paper that you can print out. Again, this is just a PDF that you can download. They're high resolution PDFs. And then we also have social media pieces that cover the whole transaction of your listing. So from new listing, featured, open house, sold, under agreement. We do our best to choose the best photos for your flyers and for your social media pieces, but we also give you those Canva templates. Just to finish this part, in the folder itself, you also have a LAER brochure, as well as an open house sign-in sheet. We have our preferred closing partner, and we have an insurance partner too. These are just flyers. You can use these if you'd like. If not, that's okay. Now, I mentioned Canva templates. We have our Canva template here for our listing sheets. Like I mentioned, we try to do our best to choose the best photos for your listing. But if you want to update these photos, it's very easy. I'm going to make a copy of this design. And again, I'm opening this up in Canva. Stacy covered Canva before. We try to make it so you can use the free version of Canva to edit these listing packages. So particularly for the marketing bundle, we try to make it so you can use it just with the free version of Canva. Now, to update my photos, it's very easy. On the left-hand side, you'll see this Uploads button, and then we're going to click on Upload Files. I have some images of our listing here that I uploaded before. I'm just going to grab a few and click Open. Now, when you upload the files, you got to make sure you wait all the way until they have uploaded completely. Sometimes if you don't wait, when you drag them over, they appear a little blurry. So just make sure to keep that in mind. Let's say I want to replace this image here of this dining area. I can click on our image and then drag and drop to where I want it to go. When I let go of the mouse button, it'll snap into place. If I accidentally put it in the wrong place, I can always do the undo button. Let's say I want to add my image to this third slide over here, this third box here. I can click and drag over. You'll see that it'll snap into place, but as long as I don't let go of the mouse button, it won't stay there. So once I know, once I have placed it where I want it to go, I can let go of the mouse button, and there it is. So just like that, I can switch out the photos. Let's say there is a price change down the line. I can bring it down just like that, again, by clicking in there, and it's very easy. And now to use these, we can click on the share button, click download. I will download this as a PDF print because I want to print it out. But for example, if I wanted to quickly email this to someone, I can download this as a PDF standard size. And what this will do is it will make the PDF a little smaller so you can send it out via email to someone if they just want to review it quickly on their phone. All right, so I'll go quickly. Again, we also have social media pieces. And now for the social media pieces, we leave out two of the pieces at the end. You'll see this open house piece and a new price piece, just because we don't have that information yet. But we include them in your template. So if further down the line you do have a new price or price change or an open house that you know the date and time, you can very easily go into your Canva document, put in your information, and then hit share. You can download it, but Canva has this great feature. If you click on see all and scroll down to social, you can connect, for example, your Facebook page. I already have it connected, and it's very easy. It'll just prompt you to connect to your Facebook page or Instagram. You just follow the instructions. You choose the image you want to post, or in this case, the page, right? So let's say I want to do an open house. And then when I'm ready, I just hit publish. You can do a description here as well. If you have Canva Pro, there is a button here to schedule out your post. So you can take advantage of that if you do have Canva Pro. So that is the LAER marketing bundle. If you don't see this come into your email within those 24 hours, let us know. Just write into happyagent@laerrealty.com and we can make sure it gets out to you. Another feature that we have for our agents too, so that was a very nice listing that we saw. You can request a 4-page brochure. We don't make these for every listing, but if you do request one, we can create one for you. It's this really nice brochure that prints out on 11 by 17. Give us the request form itself, which you can find on LAER Agent Services. You can give us at least 16 images. It does feature some great large images that we can print out. We can get them from the MLS, but we do recommend that you send us the original images, just because they print out so large. Sometimes from directly from the MLS, they might be a little blurry. But you can request one of these from us. Especially if you have a nicer listing that you went out and got some drone shots, some nice professional photos. So that is our 4-page brochure. So moving on, I'm going to go over our monthly social media program. Now, at the beginning of every month, we will send out both an email and a text message with your monthly social media. So this has 6 to 8 social media pieces that cover 4 weeks of content. We send this out at the beginning of the month, but we also have a social media library, which is supplemental, which you can use at any time, right, to kind of supplement these monthly posts. I'll give you a quick demo of what that looks like. So you'll receive an email that looks just like this. We have our June social media marketing. We have these 3 or 4 weeks of content. They're very easy to use. You can just click on this download button to download the image. And then we have our suggested caption that you can download. They're all real estate related. Renee creates this content herself. It's very nice, high quality content. We cover mostly real estate related subjects, but we also do some holidays. For example, we have Father's Day coming up. We give you the image, but we also give you a Canva template. We have an edit in Canva button that you can then open up as a template. If you want to replace the logo, maybe you want to switch out the photo, you can do that within your Canva account. So look out for this at the beginning of every month. We send it out via text message and email. And then I also mentioned our social media library. So there is a link within this email, but you can also find it on laeragentservices.com. If we scroll down to the social media assistant, you can also access the monthly social media this way. In fact, this is the link that we send out to your text, right? So this is a little different. This is not the email, but it's the same content. When you open this up on your phone, you're actually able to just copy the suggested caption text by tapping on this button. And you can also open up a Canva template. The other link is our social media library. Now we have compiled now thousands of posts within the past 5 years of all of our social media posts that we have been sending out. So you're able to go in and search through all of these. We have kind of split them out by Facebook covers, mindset and quotes, keys to buying and selling, and then our holiday posts. So for example, we have our keys to buying and selling. Now this is arranged very similarly to the marketing material that you saw earlier. We have a search, right? And then we have our pieces here. Again, we're always including that suggested caption. We have a link to download, and then we also have the Canva template. We have a few filters here that you can use, or you can use the search. For example, I can use this filter to kind of narrow it down to content for sellers, right? And then this filters through the post. Now, like I mentioned, in total, it's around 1,000 plus posts. So you'll see hundreds of posts here. So you can always keep scrolling down, click on see more, and try to find something that suits you. So those are the keys to buying and selling. We also have holiday posts. We have 4th of July coming up. We have some past posts that we have used before. So if you maybe don't want to use the one that we sent out this year, you can kind of scroll through ones that we have sent out before. And then finally, we also have these Facebook covers, which you can use on your Facebook page. So if you do want to kind of update your branding on Facebook and you need to look for a Facebook cover, you can find tons of options here that you can use. We're always including Canva templates, so maybe you want to include a picture of yourself in one of these covers. You can do that very easily by using Canva. Now our search is really powerful, so you can even do in this mindset and motivational quotes, you could do a search for something like gratitude. Let me see if I can spell it right. Yeah. And you can search posts that are about gratitude, right? You can download this, and then you can use these as Canva. So that is our social media marketing library and our monthly social media posts. That's it for me. Oh, you're muted.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Sergio. All right, next up, we only have about a half an hour left. Hopefully you guys are writing a very long list of the things that you're going to go execute on. I have a couple other things that I want to mention, and then I'm going to invite Ashley on to give you a rundown. If we had more time, I would give you a full rundown on both Fellow and Real Scout, but we never have enough time to do both. And so I end up really focusing on Real Scout. But let me go through before we have Ashley. Come on, hold on. Oops, hold on a second. All right, my whole Chrome just crashed. That's okay. It's easy to get back everything. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're back at LAER Agent Services, and if you go down to the agent toolbox down here, you can click on technology tools. So that's going to take you over here. These are where you sign into the main 3 technologies. If you are a member of LAER and you sign up for our tech bundle, which is $39 per month, you get 3 products for that. The first one is Fellow, which is a set it and forget it CRM marketing system. Fellow is a cool product because it basically sends everybody in your database a home value report every 2 weeks. So you put names and emails, you collect names and emails, you put them into your Fellow account. Every 2 weeks, everybody in your account will get updated home value. And the system then watches what the consumer does when they receive that email. Many consumers aren't going to click on it because they're not interested in what their home value is right now because they're not going anywhere. But some homeowners do start clicking through that home value report. They want to see how much equity they have, what other houses have sold for in their neighborhood, things like that. So the Fellow system, when you go into the back end of it, will rate your whole database and it'll say, hey, you have 400 people in your database, but these are the 5 that seem to be likely to sell their house in the next 12 months. By the way, the system gives them 2 or 3 valuations, and it lets them know that these are automated and that the better way to find out a value for their property is to have their real estate agent come out. In fact, there's a button for that, and it'll say, have your real estate agent prepare a market analysis. And if the person clicks that button, the lead goes to you. It also has a button where it'll say, hey, would you be interested in a cash offer on your house? And there's a button they can fill out, and they could say, I might be interested in a cash offer. That's just another person raising their hand saying, I might sell if the conditions were correct. So Fellow is a really amazing platform for generating, basically turning your database into leads. Instead of having a stale database that you just send the same content every single month, like a newsletter, and not knowing whether the person is interested in maybe buying or selling, this engages with your people in your database. So if you go to laerrealty.com/fellow, if it sounds intriguing to you, you can click on this and it's like a 1-hour overview where we go through how the Fellow system works and magically transforms your database. Boston Logic is our agent website. So if you subscribe to our $39 a month bundle, it comes with a really nice website through Boston Logic. We get it all built for you. We hook it to your domain name so that you look professional if somebody shows up on your website. And the third part of the $39 a month tech bundle is Real Scout. So Real Scout is a property search portal. I talked about it earlier when we were talking about Zillow. And I said, Real Scout allows you to be your own Zillow so that if you're using the multiple listing service for home searches, that you're signing up the customer in MLS to get notifications of new listings that hit the market, then you're probably losing business to Zillow, because the consumer wants a better search than that. And Real Scout for us provides the better search. Real Scout is a beautiful search, just like Zillow. So at LAER, we say put all of your buyers into a Real Scout search so that you don't risk losing the customer who wants a better search experience. So with that, I'm going to invite Ashley from our team on to just give you the 10 things that we think make Real Scout really amazing for your business.
Thank you, Stacy. And to your point about setting up clients in MLS, one of my biggest pet peeves about MLS is a client can just like a property or dislike a property. Okay, great. I still need to call them. What do they like about the property? What do they not like about the property? Real Scout allows them to like certain amenities, certain features, and all of that is shown in your live feed in Real Scout in real time. So let's say I send you an email right now, you can go and view 123 Main Street, for example. You can like certain features, certain amenities, and I refresh my page and I see all of that data instantaneously. So that's what I really like about Real Scout that you don't get in the MLS. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And I hope that this works. Can you see my screen? I don't know.
Still think, oh, it's there.
Okay. It's looking weird on my screen, so that's why I wasn't sure. So my first recommendation is there's an app for everything. So of course, there's an app for Real Scout. However, with Real Scout, there's two versions of the app. There's an agent app and a consumer side of the app. So for the agent app, you want to make sure you download the Real Scout agent dashboard. So your key point for this is going to be the pro banner, the black background, and the white house. For the client side or the consumer side, it's going to be a white background with a black house, and it's just going to say Real Scout Home Search. If you download Real Scout Home Search and you try to log in with your agent login and you can't get in, that's why you have the incorrect app. So you want to make sure as an agent, you have the one that says agent dashboard in it. The next thing is that each Real Scout account has a unique sign up link. So there's two different links that you can use to self-generate leads. If you're somebody who does a lot of mailers, you could use your client search page link or your onboarding link. And instead of copying the entire link, you could turn it into a QR code for free. Just type in QR code generator on Google or Edge, whatever your browser is. Create a QR link with that code, put it on your mailers, and then anytime anybody scans it and signs up, they will go into your Real Scout database as a client. Now, if you do the client search page, they can create their own search. Now, when it comes to adding clients and creating alerts, you can invite them to create their own. So let's say you have more than one real estate license and you want them to be associated with your Real Scout account. How are you going to differentiate between, say, Maine and New Hampshire MLS like me, right? So you have, when you create your type of alert that you're creating, you're going to see the data feed / property class. The cross MLS basic search means that it's searching all of the MLSs that are associated with your account. To select just one MLS or one state, you would just click the drop down menu and then select whatever state you wanted. Now, if you are licensed in New Hampshire, you are going to notice Prime MLS breaks it down into residential, commercial lease, commercial sale, land, and a couple other ones, where MLS in Maine, they have them all in one. It's not which one do you want. So New Hampshire MLS is a little different in that it breaks it down by the category. You would just select the state, and then you would go through and you would click on the top right corner, add a contact or alert. You would enter in their email address, their first name, phone number is optional. I always do first name, last name, just in case you have buyers that have the same name. And then you would tag them. Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a buyer and a seller, or other? So other could always be an investor or, you know, somebody who is maybe on the fence. You could post them or tag them as other if you wanted to, if they weren't sure if they were buying or selling. The next one is you would just go through and input the criteria like you would in MLS. Once you put all of the criteria in there, you can go and select how often your clients get the emails with new matches. So you could do ASAP, you could do daily, AM or PM, you could do handpicked. If you do handpick, that will require you to come in every day, once or twice a day, see what new matches have come on for your clients, and then manually send them to your clients. It's not going to be something that's automated or automatic like the daily in the AM or the PM or the ASAP. So ASAP is when they come on. And then what I do is I always check this little box down here that says send copy to myself. So if you're hosting open houses all weekend at a new listing that you have, or if you're on the road showing property and you're not going to have, access to MLS handy on your computer, you can still get email notifications of what houses your clients are getting matched to, and you can see all of the detail just like your clients in that email without even having to be in your computer. Another question I get sometimes is, I have a CSV file. Can I import a CSV file? Yes, you can. So all over on the left-hand side, there's like a navigation panel. You would click on contacts, and then over on the right in the contacts dashboard, you would click on import contacts, and then you would upload the CSV file. There's different ways you can search. So you could draw your own outline, you can draw a polygon, you can draw a rectangle. If you have somebody who needs to be a particular radius, let's say 20 miles from the center of Chelmsford, you could draw a radius up to 20 miles outside of Chelmsford. When you are doing the special shapes, like drawing your own outline, the polygon or the rectangle, you're gonna have your first point, your second point, your third point, your fourth point. What's important is that your fourth point gets connected back to that first point to close that shape. If you do not connect your last point to that first point, the shape is not going to close and it's not going to know which area to search. So that is important that you close that shape. For the radius, because it's already a circle, you don't need to worry about closing the shape. You can also search by a school district or a particular school name in a particular school district. You can also do a condo association. You could do a development name or subdivision name if you had a client who wanted to be in a particular subdivision. You can also update for multiple states, even if I'm not licensed in that state. No, you have to be licensed, Carrie. So Carrie had asked, can you set up a buyer for multiple states, even if I'm not licensed in that state? If they choose a state I'm not licensed in, I would refer out. No, you have to be licensed, because in Real Scout, your license number is associated with your account. So if you don't have a New Hampshire license, for example, you couldn't search New Hampshire. So how to update a client, you would click on the left-hand side, the navigation panel, you would click on contacts. You would click the name of the contact that you wanted to update. And then if you have a listing alert and a market activity alert for them, you would just click what alert you wanted to update. So if you want to update the listing alert, you would click the edit button over on the right under actions. It's gonna bring up the click edit filters. So you want to make sure you click edit filters in the top left. And then it's gonna bring you to the criteria fields, and you can go ahead and update any criteria that you need. And then if there's any new matches, it's gonna ask, do you want to send those new matches now, or do you want to send them later? There's an auto nurture feature, which is great. I have all of my clients on this. And what this is that it will send your clients a drip campaign automatically. So it's a great way to keep in touch with your clients. It's also, again, set it and forget it, which we love here at LAER. And it's also a drip campaign to stay on top of mind. So if there's not enough data, it'll create an email campaign with relevant listings automatically based upon what's already in the system for them. There is an FAQ page on the bottom of the auto nurture section if you have questions of how is it created, what control do you have over it. All of those frequently asked questions are on the bottom of this page in Real Scout. Monthly market activity report. This can be used for buyers and sellers. So for the buyers to see how many buyer activities there have been, how many interactions with buyers there have been in a particular neighborhood, in a particular time frame, right? So if my clients have a top viewed property, we're going to use this data to structure our offer a little bit differently. I did it over the weekend for a highest and best scenario, and we ended up getting the offer. And one of the ways that we did that was saying, okay, home inspection for informational purposes only, unless a safety or health hazard exceeds X amount of dollars, right? So it's those different strategies that you can use to strengthen your offer if your clients are, putting in an offer on a top viewed property. Now, if you have a seller who thinks their property is up here, but all of the data, your CMA, everything in this buyer activity report for their neighborhood is shown down here where with your CMA, you can use this report to show them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is everything going on in your neighborhood within the past 30 days, the past 60 days, right? So it's just more concrete evidence that shows them what's actually going on, not just with numbers. They have the heat index map that shows them, and they have a graph as how many buyers were in a particular area on a particular time. I love that feature for both sellers and buyers. Now, why is Real Scout better than a website? Real-time updates, right? Real-time engagement with your clients. It's a much easier to read format than MLS where it's all squished. Real Scout doesn't squish it all. Real Scout makes it expanded a little bit so it's easy to read. New property alerts daily. The property search emails are filled with photos. You can rate them differently. You can rate property A to property B, 4 stars, 5 stars, however you want to rate it. There's a mobile app, and it integrates with all of the major lead platforms. And then again, I just have this little let's talk about Zillow sheet in here. Why you shouldn't use Zillow and why it's not good, as Stacy mentioned earlier. It's not updated. They sell your information to mortgage people, other agents. And then the buyer thinks they're talking to the listing agent, and it's some random agent that has, not much info on the property, like they think they're calling the listing agent. So that's a little bit on Real Scout. If you are a LAER agent and you do have the tech bundle and you want some more in-depth help, you can schedule a one-on-one briefing with me. The calls are 30 minutes, and the link for that is laerrealty.com/briefings. And with that, Stacy, I'm gonna hand it back over to you with 9 minutes to spare.
All right, awesome stuff. I know all of you are thinking right now, I cannot believe I sat on a webinar for 3 hours. And like I said, I always say every single month, we'll try to get out early, but there's so much content to cover. And we still really haven't covered it all, but a couple things I'd like to leave you with before we wrap up. Hold on, let me just reshare my screen.
Harry, curious, how is the home value report with Fellow different from a Zestimate? I know Zestimates are an algorithm that usually are way off. How is Fellow's home value calculated? Is it so? Carrie, schedule a briefing call because that is a very loaded question, and I don't want to take time to answer that on the call with a shortened time. So schedule a 30-minute briefing and we can go over your questions on Fellow.
And by the way, Carrie, like the evaluate in any automated valuation report is not going to be accurate. So
Right.
you are correct in that. Is it going to be like Zillow that it's not at 100%? It's probably not super accurate, but still it's not meant to be accurate. It's meant to generate a phone call. So what the system allows you to do is go on the back end and see who's clicking through and interested in their value. And then what we say is then pick up the phone or email the person and say, hey, I noticed you were looking at your value. That's an automated valuation. What did you think of it? Do you think it's too high, too low, or just right? It's all about starting the conversation and then saying, if you'd like, I can come over and give you a full CMA. So 100% you are correct. The fellow is not going to be like a super accurate valuation. Although I set myself up on it for my own house with one of our agents, and I don't think it's that far off. I think it's pretty accurate. I'd say mine is pretty accurate, but every house is a little bit different. I live in a neighborhood where all the houses look the same and sell for roughly the same price, but we live in Massachusetts, so there's areas, the automated valuation, if somebody 2 streets over in a huge house lists, it's gonna make my valuation off. Okay, couple things I want to go through with you guys before we wrap up. If you're a LAER agent, the way you get paid is this button right here. There's a little getting paid section. So when it's time to get paid on a transaction, you go to the little getting paid button, and there's a LAER check request there. So as soon as you have a closing coming up, you fill out the LAER check request. This is what notifies our compliance team that they're going to double check the file to make sure we have everything. It also notifies our bookkeeping team that somebody's going to be looking for checks. You fill out a check request anytime you have a closing, anytime you need funds dispersed for a seller, anytime there's a deal that falls apart and you need a release check, all of it gets done through this LAER check request. Also, if you're a Massachusetts agent, we've set it up so you can sign up for our mobile deposit platform. This is only available for our Mass agents, but basically this allows you to deposit funds right into the LAER bank account. So if you have an upcoming commission, you have a commission check, you can mobile deposit it without bringing it to an office. Same with escrows. You collect an escrow check, you could actually mobile deposit it into our escrow account without having to go to an office. Just an extra feature to try to make life easier for agents. By the way, there's also a button where you can check the status of your check request. Say you filled out a check request yesterday and you're waiting for checks. You can go check out the status here and just see where it is in the process of getting approved. Don't worry, we have email notifications set up all along the whole check request process as well. So that is how you get paid at LAER. Let me just see if there's anything else. I think that's it for that piece of it. I do want to go back to our LAER program guide. This is where we started the whole morning. As you'll recall, we only got to page 7, but we covered a lot of this stuff because it's all on the LAER agent services page. So we went through all the marketing that is available for every person who watched today's program. I also wanted to move to the technology. We covered a little bit of our technology, but if you're a LAER agent, you have access to a full G Suite, Google Suite, plus .loop, or app files, or transaction desk. .loop is for our Mass, New Hampshire, and Maine agents, app files for our Florida agents, transaction desk for our Connecticut agents. So all kinds of complementary technology, plus the $39 a month tech bundle if you opt into that at LAER. And that includes Fellow, your agent website, and Real Scout. By the way, on this page, there's all kinds of little starter videos for Real Scout. But like Ashley said, you could set up briefing sessions at laerrealty.com/briefings and get one-on-one support on any of the tools if you want help, one-on-one support learning it. We then went through our career development stuff, all the different trainings, growth systems, our training platforms, and classes. We also do like to bring in trainers throughout the year. So in addition to our own staff that does training, our tools team, etc., we also bring in great speakers throughout the year. And then always, because of our size, there's always fun stuff to do, from luncheons to classes to mastermind groups, you name it. Finally, the last portion of this book is our agent services. Most important thing to know if you're a LAER agent is if you ever need anything 7 days a week, just email happyagent@laerrealty.com. And we have a staff of 50 plus people who can reach out and assist you with whatever you need. We do have deposit link and earnest. These are just some cool technologies to help you collect escrow checks and commission checks. We're totally fine taking the old-fashioned paper checks, but these are services that make your life a lot easier. Once you know how to use them, you can just send somebody a link to pay their escrow deposit. There's also a page here for different lead companies to sign up for. I tell every agent to sign up for all, on the left-hand side, all the different lead generation companies on the left side. These are referral fee-based lead platforms. So they get a referral if you end up closing with them. And that is basically it. We're proudly a realtor organization. And we have offices all throughout Massachusetts, Connecticut, Florida, Maine, New Hampshire. If you watch today's program and you're not a LAER agent and you're interested in learning more about LAER, please email me at happyagent@laerrealty.com. We're always interested in expanding into new markets and adding additional agents to our already amazing group of professionals. And I'd love to talk to you if you're interested in learning more about LAER. Again, it's happyagent@laerrealty.com, and that'll end up coming right to me and I'll reach out to you. And for all of our agents that took this class, I see some of you have been on here multiple times. And that's the best way to do this program, is to come back throughout the year because it's always changing. But most importantly, go execute on the things that you don't have in your business. Get your buyer presentation going, your seller presentation, your buyer, seller, and investor packages up and running. Go try MLSmailings.com or thepersonalmarketingcompany.com. Go get your green designation. Like, go execute on some things and then just simply come back in a few months or 6 months or a year and do the class again. And as always, thank you to Sergio and Craig and Ashley for helping us deliver yet another monthly boot camp. And we will be here same time, same place next month for our July boot camp. Actually, next month, by the way, I think we postponed it a week, didn't we, Sergio?
Yeah,
Yes, we
Because
did.
I think it landed on the 4th.
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah,
next
so
month will be July
it'll be
11th.
second Friday of the month next month. All right. Thanks, everyone.